Welcome to episode 18 of Petey's Awesome Guest Panel. My guest at this time is a G.L.O.W original, not just a G.L.O.W original, but one of, if not the only G.L.O.W girl to serve all 4 seasons in the original run. My guest at this time is Miss Jeanne Basone. Jeanne, how are you today?
I'm good, Petey. How are you?
Good. And now before I get into the questions, though, we definitely have to share. We lost a great G.L.O.W girl this week. We lost the late great Becky Muellen, better known as Sally the Farmer's Daughter. You had an intense feud with her throughout the 4 years in G.L.O.W as a storyline. Would you like to share your memories of the late great Becky Muellen?
Oh, you're so sweet. You said the word great. You know, she was great, Peter. Her and I had the biggest rivals of all, and she did pretty much. She was in season 1, 2, 3, and then was out of 4 for a little bit, and then came back for the pay-per-view. But when we had our matches, they were intense. And I know you've seen them, and a lot of people have seen them, and they kept putting us together over and over and over because basically we gave the fans what they wanted. It was a great feud, and it continued, until G.L.O.W ended. She was smart, intelligent, witty. That girl was witty. You know what I mean? And she was my toughest opponent. So it was very difficult wrestling her as a baby face because she's a baby face. I'm the heel. She acted more like the heel. So she will definitely be remembered, never forgotten. She had a beautiful face. And also I want to say one thing about her. Not only did she do G.L.O.W, she was acting and she was doing a lot of 80s videos at the time. She was one of those video vixens. She was hot and beautiful. Thank you for bringing her up.
Not a problem. Now, before I get into the G.L.O.W related questions, though, I that because this is going to be a 2-part episode, like in the near foreseeable futures, we'll have part 2 of our interview. So let's get down with the questions. In the word of the late great Becky Muellen, come out here to have some fun,
There you go. Y'all.
One of my questions is like the pilot episode of G.L.O.W. What was it like filming? Because not many people know this, and I could be wrong on this, but I believe G.L.O.W was the first wrestling promotion, not just the first female wrestling promotion, but it was also the first wrestling promotion to promote a backstage brawl. And by that I mean when you, Matilda, April, Janet, and it was you heels against the face girls, which was Tammy Jones, Ashley Cartier, Tina Ferrari, in a backstage feud in the Riviera Hotel. Give me your memories on that first ever backstage brawl.
We had a lot of brawls, so forgive me if I forget some of them because we had Texas barroom brawls. There were brawls where we never made it into the ring, but that one, there was the strip one. You remember that one? So those were crazy. But to me, and this is just me. I did all 4 seasons, but my season 1 and 2 are more memorable to me because this was something new. No one had seen this on TV before. Yes, there was women's wrestling, but it was all independent wrestling, and they were not an all-female cast like us. So the memory of Tina, Ashley, Nanuchka, all of them, it's just crazy. Good times. That's all I can tell you is great times, and I did so many matches. Sometimes it's hard to remember every single one. The Caribbean one, do you remember the one where we're and you might know it better than us, but it's Babe and it's a Lightning and MTV. We're going it's a Caribbean cruise or something, and then you win money. I don't know, but that one was we're all dressed in our outfits like we're going to take a cruise.
I think I remember that one. Was that the one where it was Hollywood, MTV, and Big Bad Mama versus Mount Fiji? I remember because I think Big Bad Mama had like the swimming's.
Yeah, she had those big flip-flop things. That's very memorable too. Yeah, good times.
Absolutely. And one of my first matches I've ever seen in G.L.O.W, I remember when I became a fan of G.L.O.W, it was the underrated tag team of Hollywood and Vine versus Mount Fiji, and this was episode 2 of. Right. I want to get your memories on working that match.
The one with which one again? Vine and I, and who else?
Versus Mount Fiji in a handicap match. I believe.
Oh gosh! Oh yeah, yeah. Well, every time they said you're gonna wrestle Mount Fiji, I'd look over at Vine and I'm like, oh my God, how are we going to get this woman off her feet? What can we do to get her off her feet? Like, let's light matches. We were trying to light matches down by her ankle so she would hop up and down. Yeah, she was just much bigger than us. And you can remember she picked both Vine and I up on both her arms.
I've never seen you scream so loud in my entire life.
Yes. So fun match, and always wrestling Emily was always a good time because she'd laugh. She'd do something and she'd know what me and Vine were up to, and she mostly would laugh at us knowing that we were never, ever going to win that match.
Now, would I do want to ask because you're one of the very few Glow girls that actually took part in both the Glow games and Life in the Glow House. What were your memories doing both of those?
The Glow games, I think we had 1 or 2 days on those Glow games, and those were at the Riviera Hotel. Those were fun. And then, people were sitting around the pool staring at us. I mean, you couldn't just keep them away too much, but they're looking at us like, oh my gosh. But it was fun. The pizza eating contest was hilarious. That's fun. Then when Mountain Fiji is sitting there with her pizza and throwing it everywhere and then doing the dance that was choreographed, I think, by Nanuchka, if I'm not mistaken. I think she choreographed that. That was great. And what was the other question? The
Glow House.
The house. Yes. Those were fun. The little acting sketches that we did. I love those. Those were great. Those were fun times. And the one I remember a lot of is Godiva and Helena, Daisy and Stinky and myself. We were like, I think we were going to crack a safe or something. And it was a bunch of potato chips that we ended up getting instead of money or something crazy. They were fun. Very campy, but the memories of that was fun. And that was towards the end. I mean, that was really towards the end of Glow. That was when we found out there was not going to be any Glow, is when we started doing those Glow House little sketches.
Now, one of my favorite Life in the Glow House sketches was always going to be with you, Godiva, and Helena, when you hypnotized Helena thinking she was Mount Fiji. That was one of my favorite sketches of all time.
See, you remember more stuff than I do. They're all good. The one I remember is Donald Trump. We're at Trump Castle. Do you remember that one?
When Daisy said, Hollywood, I need your advice, and she goes, sure. Which would you like, a wallet or a watch?
I know. Very campy, very silly. And that's what makes Glow different than all the other shows. See what I'm talking about? You're smiling, I'm smiling. It's the campy humor, comedy sketches that went with our show.
And I do want to ask, because you were always side by side with her in seasons 1 and 2, along with Janet Bowers. What was it like working with Deanna Boers, Matilda the Hun?
Yeah, Matilda. She's hilarious. Are you kidding me? She'd been around, and what I mean by that, acting and being in front of live audiences, wrestling a bear, for God's sakes. And she was a little bit older, so she had a lot of experience, more than I did. So I was always learning from her, always. She was funny, always a good time, always laughing. But you didn't want to piss her off, man, because do you remember when her and Fiji would get together in the ring and they're slapping each other? They were really, really going at it. I'd be like, yikes, I don't want to get hit with that big old hand.
They actually stiffen each other?
When they slapped, they were really slapping each other. Oh, yes. And you could see it. You could see the animosity in their faces. You're looking at Fiji and you're looking at Matilda. And I'm like, oh, my God. They scared the crap out of me. Me and Vine would sit there back there like this going, oh, my God. Yeah, those were intense fights between the two. And of course, they put on a fantastic show. Everyone loved watching them.
Sweet. And I do want to ask, because before I ask about a question about Janet Bowers, your former partner Vine, I do want to mention that it's ironic because what we talked about Sally earlier, that both of you actually appeared on Married with Children on different episodes, though.
Yeah. I don't remember what year Becky did hers, it might have been after hours, because I remember her taking off season 4, and then she did a bunch of modeling and the videos, and the TV. You know, being on Married with Children is kind of like a dream come true for me. I was on it 2 times, and Becky was on it the time that she was on it. She might have been on it a few times too. But the director Jerry Cohen was very cool on the show. And when Babe, myself, and Big Bad Mama are on the show, um, it was hilarious. We had all the writers in the same room at the same time. We're auditioning, and we read the lines back and forth to the executive producers and the writers. And they're like, "Okay, you guys, we'll see you on Monday." And I'm like, "Yes, we got the gig. This is so cool." So yeah, we were on different times. And like I said, it was a big deal to be on Married with Children back in the day. So Becky did it, I did it, and a lot of other ladies, models, entertainers did it.
Now you were also on a lot of other shows too. You were on Family Feud when you fought the WCW guys with Sting, which was cool because you got to see Hollywood and Sting in the first
Yes.
time ever on TV. Um,
Yeah.
you were on Phil Donahue. You were on Sally Raphael. Talk about
Yes.
those memories in that.
Right. So Sally Jesse Raphael, I believe was filmed in Connecticut, and that's a great show. All those shows were fun. Donahue was great. The Family Feud was good. So when we did Family Feud, I didn't know how they filmed it. So when we got there, I thought we were doing one show. No, when you got there, there was the live audience, and you were filming not one but 5 shows in one day. Yes. So everything that you saw on TV. Were filmed all in one day. So they might have put it on this day and this day and this day, but it was filmed one day. And we did 2 of those, meaning I did 10 episodes. And by the way, Becky and myself, I think it's called at the end of Family Feud, it's called Fast Money. So that's where you go in and you're on the clock and you're winning a bunch of money. So both her and I, we picked each other to do Fast Money. And we won some money for all of our, all the benefit, all the companies that we, our charities. We picked different charities. We picked 10 different charities to send money to.
Oh, okay. And I remember the Family Feud because it was 2 episodes of G.L.O.W versus WCW because
Right.
one was when the guys were wearing the blue shirts, and then there was one where they were like dressed in like formal attire. So I remember there was 2 episodes of WCW versus G.L.O.W.
Exactly. Yeah, 2 different seasons of it. I remember it too, but I just don't remember, anything different, because back then I didn't know any of those wrestlers. I knew who Sting was, but I didn't know who Jim Ross was, and I didn't know who any of those other people were. I just knew Sting. So I really didn't know how great some of those wrestlers were to wrestling fans like yourself. But we had a good time on the show.
But I wanted to ask, like, to go back to my question with Janet Bowers, like, because Hollywood is such an underrated team. I mean, they definitely made seasons 1 and 2 like very cool. I mean, later on it was Hollywood and MTV and Hollywood
and Broadway Rose. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't forget her.
Well, what was it like working with Janet?
Janet and I worked together closely for so many years, and she was awesome. There'd be no Hollywood without Vine, and no Vine without Hollywood. So we were the famous Hollywood and Vine tag team. The cool thing for me after working with Janet was I got to do singles matches, which was great. And Janet started playing different characters. They had us so tightly knit together that we were in the same room together. We did all our sketches together and all of our matches together. After a while, you want a little freedom to do your own thing. And then Janet left. She came for season 3, and then she was gone, and I never heard from her ever again. I don't know if she went back to Canada or what, but there were no goodbyes. It was just, she was gone. She took off, but it was always a pleasure to work with her.
I loved when you had when it was like Hollywood, and then it was no Vine, but it was Princess of Darkness, which was a character
which was Vine. Yes.
What was it like working like that segment with her where like it was like all of you in the background singing that old black magic?
We were doing our job. You know, and I'm trying not to laugh in the background at some of these sketches because some of them were interesting. Let's just put it that way. And it was whatever our director wanted and whatever the writer was writing. You did it and you did it well, and you didn't want to laugh and get in trouble. That was a whole nother thing. You did your job well, because once we went, they didn't want to have to cut and repeat. You didn't want to get yelled at. Let's just put it that way. Pete, our director, he was hardcore. You
That's
know, yes, Matt was hardcore, but the thing is that made it easier when I did other shows and different working for other directors. It made my life easier because Matt was so hard on us. He wanted us to be a certain way and to get it right the first time. And we did. So I learned, you know, quickly, don't F up, you know, remember your lines, because who wants to be humiliated or yelled at in front of a whole crew of people? So Matt did his job really well. Janet was hilarious. And, you know, for her to do all those characters, she was also a jailbait in the beginning. I don't know if you know that. She was wearing the orange, and it was an orange costume with gray or silver. And she was jailbait first. Just for like, say that again, you broke up.
that was the pilot episode where she wasn't called blind.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, so she was very versatile, very smart girl.
What was your favorite? Because you had many of them. What was your favorite rap? Because I think I want to see if it's the same one I had in mind.
Oh no, you're gonna make me. Hollywood is here. You do yours first.
My favorite will always be Hollywood and Vine. They are so fine. They'll beat your butts anytime. They like to roll. When I'm in the ring, I take control.
That's better. I like yours. I just remember Hollywood is here to rule the ring. Beating on people is my thing. The fans know that I'm really hot. There's not a move I haven't got. I'm something wild, I don't know, and slick, and I know every dirty trick. I'll beat you every chance I could. You just don't mess with Hollywood. There were so many different ones, you know. I have a notebook that's over 35 years old, and I have raps in there. Different ones that I wrote down that I might do when we were on tour to mix it up and make it a little different. Now that I'm older, it's hard to remember all of those.
You know what's a feud that I really liked that you guys did was when you fought Lori and Cindy, Americana and Susie Spirit. I remember because I think Vine came out with like those hot dogs and then she shoved it in
yes, in her mouth. See what I mean? You're laughing. It was sports entertainment to the hilt. I mean, you know, and that's before they called it sports entertainment. You know, I also, Petey, I would get to the ring about 15 minutes before all the girls did when we had live shows in Vegas, and I would ask for cords, you know, the microphone cords. I would ask them to put a certain color piece of tape on a cord down on the ground so that way I could pick up the cord, wrap it around whoever's neck, Becky for one, and throw them into the audience. And then I would hide like water and props underneath the ring, because the look of surprise on somebody's face when they're not expecting it is classic. You know, it's pretty cool.
I do want to also ask you about, like, because you took part in Nasty and Mean. I want to get your thoughts on that music video you did in G.L.O.W.
I didn't make that song up. You know, that came from Matilda's, a friend of hers, Hank. And that was Hank's Nasty and Mean. Oh my gosh, you remember me and Vine? We're like in the camera. Yeah! Remember with our hair all purple, green, and red? I don't know what I was doing. I was just going with the flow. So, you know, we really didn't have rehearsal. It was just go. I don't remember rehearsal. I just remember the song is playing. I don't even know the words to it. And now I have to be in the background with Matilda singing I Eat Raw Meat.
Well, you did two. That was one of the music videos you did. You did I Eat Raw Meat, and then there was one with every heel girl there.
Oh, yeah, when we're in the casino.
Yes.
Yeah. There's not a lot of rehearsal, you know. It was just like, hear the song, you better learn it, do it. and we're dancing in the casino. Can you imagine people trying to dance in a casino today? I really don't think that they would like us standing on their chairs and their tables, coming down their elevators. But boy, you know, just because Rickless owned the Riviera Hotel, we got to do whatever we wanted in that hotel. It's pretty cool.
Cool. Now when you do it, like when you set up a match, though, is it like we're like with your opponent? So theoretically, like if it's you and Vine taking on Little Fiji and Mount Fiji, do you go like before the match, like you plan it out with Emily and Incham and Janet, saying, okay, what would you like to do in this
Yeah.
match? Like,
Yeah, back then, I know it's a lot different. Like with WWE, they wanted us to write down our matches, and the reason they wanted to do that is we had cameras everywhere. They wanted, because we had 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we had probably 4 or 5 cameras. So you'd have one in the back, one in the front, and then you'd have your cameraman. But they wanted to know exactly if you were going to break, you know, a bottle over somebody's head, camera needs to be there. So we choreographed or wrote everything out. It also cuts down on injuries, but that is the way they did it then. So yes, that's why I said earlier, I said, Janet, what can we do to get Fiji off her feet? Matches, you know what I mean? So yeah, we wrote down a lot of the stuff. You know, I have a notebook that I was telling you about that has my matches in that. I've got my Sally matches. I have the Babe matches, Tulsa matches. I've got all this, you know, a lot of stuff written. I'm so glad that I kept that book. That book is old, and there's all kinds of stuff. There's flights in there. There's itineraries in there. There's phone numbers. My boyfriend's name written in it because I'm bored. So I'm writing David loves Jeannie, you know, just funny stuff.
now, it's interesting too, like that you're one of the very few Glow girls that didn't go to PAL though. Like most Glow girls, I mean, went and jumped to
Because
PAL.
they had nothing else to do. I didn't go, Pete, because I went to Japan and I modeled in Japan. So that was one of my reasons not going, because that would have been the end of season 2, right? And then some of the ladies went to PAL. With David, I didn't do that. First of all, I was just kind of like, I want to do something else, kind of like what Becky did. Let's just, you know, go out there and do something else. So I was in Japan where they were filming that show. And then I came back. I didn't come back. Actually, I wasn't going to come back in season 3. I'm like, I'm done. If there's no season 1 and 2 girls, why should I come back? All my friends are gone. But we had a little deal, and they called me back in, and I negotiated some stuff with them. And then I came back for season 3 and 4 and met all the new girls for season 3 and 4.
Fair enough. And I do want to ask you though, because in the beginning of Glow, you were a prominent you were a prominent tag team player, and there were a lot of tag teams in Glow. Don't you think that they should have had tag team titles? Like you had a Glow crown, but how about like a Glow tag team crown?
They didn't have a crown, but they had a championship belt. And Vine, and actually, did they have a belt?
I don't remember.
Steve Blank said that we actually won, that Vine and I won something. I'm going to get back to you on it and ask him on our part 2 that we do. Yeah. Let me find out about that question. But we never received a belt. So you're right. Technically, there was no belt. But we did have, you know what I mean? There was no belt at all. But we should have had a crown. And I think that they should have put the crown quicker. Like, you know, our first bad guy girl was, or champion was the Royal Hawaiian.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it really was, it started with Queenie. This is what Steve told me. It started with Matilda the Hun, who would have the championship. Then Tammy Jones would win it from her. And then it went on from there and there. So then you had April Hom, the Royal Hawaiian, who won it. But I wish they would have done it quicker, faster to have more champions, because once Lisa Moretti had it, Lisa had it for a very long time. She had the championship crown for a long time. I wish they would have, like, you know, but we played out those whole scenes and those dramas and those feuds. Like Sally and I will, you know, forever remain that we were feuding the whole 4 seasons of Glow.
Is it safe to say, Jeannie, that people that were there from seasons 1 to 4 were yourself, Sally, Emily, and Lori, Ninoshka?
Yeah, that's safe to say. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're right. That's a lot to say.
It is, and
You know?
it's
Yeah,
ironic.
you're right. You're so right because I did the pilot, and I'm the only one that did the pilot and all 4 seasons. Then after that, Emily and myself did all the seasons, and then Nanuchka as well. But Nanuchka came in a little bit. I don't remember her right in the beginning of season 1. She was our wardrobe girl and her mother. And then they asked her to play this character, and boy, did Lori play that character well. Unbelievable. Such talented people coming out of season 1, that's for sure.
I definitely could say that it's ironic that for someone that played the heel majority of her career, that she was getting you were getting baby face reactions from the crowd. They were cheering you. They were cheering you than they would the actual baby face in the match.
I know. I
You know what?
know.
I would be doing the same exact thing.
The thing is, you got to remember, back then in the 80s, bad guys didn't win. They just didn't win. So I'm losing all the time. So I would be so mad. Finally, Petey, they finally let me. I won. I remember we were on tour on the East Coast, and I won a match fair and square. And the referee raised my hand, and I remember the crowd over here. So I turned over here. And the crowd did this, and I turned this way, and the crowd did this, and I turned this way. And man, it probably was the best feeling to have those fans cheering you as a bad guy. So, you know, and then you'd have people booing you. And then, of course, if they're booing you, you're doing your job. However, they would be the first people up for an autograph. I'd look at them, Hollywood, can we have your autograph? Can we have your autograph? And I would look at them, I'm like, you two were booing me. I go, we know, but we love you, Hollywood.
Don't you think? And this would have been such a dream team too. Like imagine, because you know, like how WWE has Survivor Series where it's like a 5-on-5 battle. Like, could you imagine if like all the girls together from seasons 1 to 4, like, and have like this incredible team of Hollywood, Vine, MTV, and
Yes.
Broad shows?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Imagine that. And then, you know, on one team you got like I call them the Xaniacs. I was telling Sharon this too. I was telling James about this. Like one side you got Heavy Metal Sisters, you got Beastie, you got Dementia with Gremlina as their manager.
I love it.
Oh man, like also
And the
Princess
Heavy
Adult.
Metal Sisters were awesome too, by the way. Just fantastic actresses. Their comedic timing was impeccable. They were good.
They were, and I wish we got to see Hollywood and Vine versus Heavy Metal, like a heel versus heel match, because we've seen that before. We've seen Phyllis and Arlene, the Housewives, take on Soul Patrol, and those two were heels.
That's interesting, right? I know. You know what would have been funny? Now, don't laugh. How about the Heavy Metal Sisters versus the Housewives? Ha ha.
Funny too. Oh, how about this one? Royal Hawaiian and Ashley Cartier taking on the Masked Mabels. I mean, Sarah and Mabel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I told a joke one time to April. I said, you know, like, had I been, like, you know, at this convention, I remember when I met you guys at the 80s WrestleCon?
Yes.
I told a joke. I said, you know, I see somebody open the door and it's a masked person. And then next thing you know, Royal Hawaiian standing next to me.
I know. That's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
that was the first time that you met the Royal Hawaiian at that 80s
Wow.
WrestleCon.
I met you in one of the G.L.O.W cruises, but
Yes.
it was the second time seeing you, which was always awesome. It was my first actual WrestleCon to see names like Francine and Tatanka. All those names were so cool, like, because it was like people like
Did you see
Rob.
Ricky Steamboat? Ricky Steamboat was there too, I believe.
I did not get to see him or Sergeant Slaughter. I always wanted to see Slaughter.
Yeah, nice. They're good guys. We see them in the conventions. Unfortunately, there won't be any conventions this year, just because of what's going on. But next year, you know.
And aren't you a Hall of Famer? Aren't you a CAC Hall of Famer because all the Glogos were inducted? Wasn't?
Well, they don't call it Hall of Famer, but yeah, they inducted us over there at the CAC. Yep, in 2012. So that was a beautiful thing. And then we got to see a lot of the girls that I hadn't seen for a long time. That whole show that day was dedicated to us. They did not give out awards to anyone else. It was all dedicated the whole night to the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. Wow. That's something to be said about.
Very
Thank
cool.
you, CAC.
Well, you definitely earned it, Jeannie.
Thank you.
Well, now before we conclude our interview, like because this is an open forum, you could talk about or promote anything you want. So you have the floor, Jeannie.
Oh, you're so sweet. First of all, thank you for having me on. And it's nice to see your face. Tell your mom and dad I said hello because they are awesome. And your girl, she's awesome. Um, Anybody who wants to get a hold of me, I have social media. There's Twitter at Glow Hollywood. I have an Instagram at Official Glow Hollywood. And I have started a soap line called Hollywood Botanica. It's natural soaps, no preservatives. If you're interested, we'll put links down there, or I'll tell you, or Petey will tell you. But Hollywood Botanica, BOTANIKA.com. And that's about it. I don't want to take all of your time, Pete, but we'll do a part 2 if you have me on.
I'd love to have you for part 2. Like,
okay, and I'll find out about that tag team belt thing.
What was that?
I'll find out about the tag team championship belt thing because there's also I know what it was. It was something with Tulsa. I'll figure out what it was, but I never got a belt for it because I won and I didn't get shit for it.
Before you go, Jeannie, let me just say that Hollywood's Glow nephew, Coney Island, told me to give you a message. He said he always got your back. If you ever need help in the ring, he's got your back.
I can't wait. You are awesome. Thank you so much.
It's a total pleasure and honor.
All right, honey. It's always an honor to talk to you too. You have a good day.
You too. Take care, my friend.
All right. Thanks, Pete. Bye.
Bye-bye.